isn't it pure perfection? Cute, thinking polite, stereotype, got your full attention. Think that you can play with me, you better watch your back. The last thing that you hear would be my laugh. Cause baby dolls kill, don't provoke us or we will push you downhill. Might be pretty but we're still bitter as much as we're sweet. Knife hidden under the sheets, baby dolls.
Tonight is Wednesday, which means I will start my stream with my usual Wednesday podcast. And currently, I do not appear to have anyone watching. I wonder why that is. Maybe it'll get better as we go along. But I do have a couple things to talk about, a few things to talk about, so let's go here. Alright, first, some time ago, wait a minute, I'll pull up one more thing here. Go to my YouTube page. Okay, good. Anyway, again, my YouTube page, A Thing of Beauty. Here's my most recent video, just published about an hour ago. As it says right there, 1 hour ago. Some weeks back, that was, well, it says a month ago here, I did a podcast on Wednesday, the Netflix series Wednesday, as you can see. And I spent the entire podcast on it. I'm not going to do that tonight, of course. But I subsequently turned it into a video and put it up on my YouTube page. And I liked the show. I thought the show was worth watching. That was probably the best thing, or the most effective aspect of it, was that it was a show worth the time. Well, the first thing I want to talk about tonight, on tonight's podcast, is simply that it has been renewed for season 2.
Over the past few weeks, I've been hunted, haunted, and mimicked millions of times across the internet. It's been pure torture. Thank you. Honestly, I wish I cared a little more.
Okay, that's pretty slick, actually. That's kind of slick advertising on the part of Netflix, just for an announcement that Wednesday got a season 2. That was kind of, I kind of like that one. But that's the best thing I can say about the show, is if you haven't yet seen it, it is a show worth watching, right? It is a show worth watching, and therefore, if you have time to watch television, you may want to take the time. And yeah, it's teenage-centric. All the primary characters are, people in their teens. But what I've said about that before is, I was a teenager once. It's not like it was centuries ago or anything. I remember what it was like. So, it's no real stretch of the imagination to think that someone who's past their teenage years can watch a show like that and still sort of identify with it. And it's not purely the domain of those who are currently teenagers at this moment. It's still an entertaining television show. And you can use the same logic. I mean, I watched Game of Thrones. I liked Game of Thrones. But I was never a sword. In real life, I was never a great sword-wielding swashbuckler in House Stark or Lannister. But just because I was never in House Lannister doesn't mean I can't watch and enjoy the show, right? So it's the same principle. All right, here we have, this is one of the articles on season 2. And one thing they say here is, we felt like we just touched the surface with those characters, and actors are so amazing in those roles. And he acknowledges that the show's focus on Wednesday Addams and her journey to forge her own path outside the family is important. But the writer's room would definitely be interested in featuring more of the Addams family dynamic in future seasons. Well, see, here's the point I wanted to make. based off of that comment. Television characters, comic book characters, in a series like this, the characters themselves don't get older. Actors do. And so if they're going to do this, right, hang on a minute. Sorry, I had to clear my throat. I still have my cold. But anyway, the point being, okay, in context of the show, of the story, the characters may not age that, relatively. They may age relatively slowly, but actors do not benefit from that. So if they're going to put 4 seasons of this out, they need to get moving, because she's not getting, what's her name, Jenna Ortega here. None of them are getting any younger, and that's not I'm not trying to disparage any of these people. That's just the way it is, right? None of them are getting any younger, and so they can't drag this out forever. If they're going to do another season, they need to get started and get it out in a reasonable amount of time. Now, here's another aspect of it. Again, this is Jenna Ortega from season 1 of Wednesday, and the title of this article is "Let's Let Wednesday Addams Be Gay." Why? Why does she have to be gay? She was never gay before. Now, I know what the initial reaction on the part of some people is going to be, just to the very fact that I brought this question up. But the reason I bring this question up has absolutely nothing to do with, gay phobia, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It has everything to do with the characters that have been established. Wednesday Addams was never gay. There's no need to change it. And this is not the first time that such efforts have been made. Back when Captain America and the Winter Soldier came out, they call it shipping, which is another one of the fabricated terms to mean something that few people really care about. But it's created by fans to promote the ideal of romantic or sexual relationships between 2 characters where none existed and were never to imply to have existed, right? And so it's all just sort of fabricated because some people want to see it that way. Well, I don't care what people want to see in their private lives, what they want to think about characters. It's when they take their feelings and try to force it on the industry and say, okay, we have this new character that we colloquially refer to as Stucky, which is a melding of Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes, because we want them. It's not enough for us that they be just friends. The concept of 2 guys who can be friends over a lifelong period, that can't be. There has to be something else to it. Okay, first, people who make such a claim have never served in the military, never been in combat. For the most part, the overwhelmingly vast majority of such people have never been in a situation where you have to depend on the guy next to you to help keep you alive. That forms a bond that sort of transcends any other that you want to cite in context of a friendship between 2 people of the same sex. And, I just sort of resent the fact that some people have to force their vision of something on the rest of us simply because it is their vision. Just have your vision and be happy. Just have your vision and go on about your life and leave the rest of us alone. We don't bother you, right? So anyway, this was on Jimmy Kimmel. This was when I think Endgame came out, and Kimmel, for some reason, decided to put up a bunch of fan art about Tony Stark and Bruce Banner, about their relationship, something that again was never presented in the movies, never hinted at in the movies. It was just something that certain fans decided to do, and for whatever reason, Kimmel wanted to bring it up. And again, he brings up other images of Thor and Captain America, and I just see all this as unnecessary, right? I just see it as unnecessary. It's fine if this is the image that people want to have of certain public figures, right? But don't force it. Don't force it on everyone else. It's the same thing that, you know, the very people that may create these images, the very people that may promote, I'm sorry, I brought up the wrong one here. The same person who wrote this article, I don't know who Abby Montiel is, but whatever, man. I mean, you know, she would, on one hand, she would say, all right, we want Wednesday Addams to be gay because we want Wednesday Addams to be gay, and you can't fight us, you can't argue with us. So there's no logic in the argument to say, all right, if you want Wednesday Addams to be gay, then I go, fine, I don't care. In your mind, she can be gay. Go, have all the fun you want, but don't force it on me. Okay, so there's no middle ground there. One has to be presented and the other doesn't. One has to be actualized and the other has to be defeated. There's no room for common ground, and that's the real shame of all this, right? There's no room for common ground, and that's the real shame of it. In that, if you have a fantasy like this, fine. Just don't force it on everyone else. Okay. Now we shall move on to M3GAN. Now M3GAN, every now and then a movie comes along. I'm not going to run the audio here. I'll just run this video. But every now and then a movie comes along which sort of subverts your expectations. You watch a trailer and you think, okay, this may be fine for late night, you know, one night when I have nothing else to do, and it's, you know, I can stream it on Netflix or Apple TV or whatever. But it's not going to be anything worth going to see. But then you go see it and you say, okay, well, actually it was much better than it was presented. Now, they're using a live actress here, or a live actor, and then a combination of CGI and prosthetics that make her look like the android, right? But the baseline story here is kind of a trope. It's been used in science fiction time and time again for years, where an artificial creature comes in, or is fabricated, or you know, partners with a human, and is designed to sort of help that human, and then turns into a monster, turns into a psychopath, you know, turns into a psychotic killer. And they're reading Alice in Wonderland, which is the perfect metaphor, right? The perfect metaphor for what is sort of projected on the screen. So the story here itself is nothing new, but the movie itself is much better than probably anyone gave it credit for, just in watching the trailers. It's fast-paced. It's only like 95 minutes long or something like that. It's kind of fast-paced, you know. It picks up and gets moving, and it just keeps plowing right along. And it's not like it isn't predictable to a degree, because when you see the movie, if you haven't yet, when you see the movie, the first time you see M3GAN, as she's sitting right there, the first time you see her, you know, okay, this bitch is going to go psycho. I mean, you just know it's going to happen. That's the whole point, right? But even when it finally happens, you think, you know, it makes, there's still sort of a surprise about it. There's still sort of an element of, you know, we knew this was going to happen, but I didn't think it was going to be quite this bad, right? And there are some interesting moments in the film that aren't really captured in the previews that were released. One is the pairing moment, when the two of them pair, just like you pair a set of Bluetooth headphones or something with your phone, right? They have a pairing moment between M3GAN and the little girl, and it's kind of it's very well done. M3GAN makes a decision, sort of like HAL 9000 in 2001: A Space Odyssey, when HAL 9000, for those familiar with that movie, HAL 9000 makes a decision to kill the crew, because to kill the crew on board the ship, because he has conflicting orders and isn't sure how to process them. And so what he comes up with is, I'll eliminate the human element. I will eliminate the human element and carry on the mission myself. Okay. There's a little bit of this in the film where M3GAN reaches a point in her android development where she says, okay, I am the only one who is capable of protecting this little girl. Even her mother can't do it. I'm the only one who can. Therefore, everyone else is expendable. And you can see the moment when the android makes that decision. That's another one of the sort of bright spots of the movie, I suppose. One of the bright spots of the movie is that you can actually see when it happens in M3GAN. That moment, it just and there are no words spoken. It's just the acting and the prosthetics and the CGI they put in. But it's like the Terminator, right? In the original Terminator movie, where he looks at the cop behind the desk and it says, "I'll be back." Okay. As soon as Schwarzenegger said, "I'll be back," you kind of know what's going to happen, right? And that's what happens here. She has this moment where she realizes that the humans around her are expendable in the pursuit of her goal. They're all of them. They're all expendable, and that's how she begins to act. And it really, like I said, it's a movie that sort of subverts your expectations. You'll leave the theater, or however you watch the movie, you'll leave not having feel like you wasted your time. And so it's another one of those vehicles, like Wednesday, M3GAN is another one of those vehicles that is worth watching. It's just worth watching, and that's what movies should be, right? They should be something that's that you don't feel like you got gypped. Like, there's an old joke that says, the in-flight movie on our trip across the Atlantic was 3 Days of the Condor, and it was so bad that people still walked out. Okay, that's a pretty good joke. That's how you tell a movie is really bad. If it's the in-flight movie on a transatlantic trip and people still walk out, that's okay. But anyway, M3GAN is worth your time. All right, so let me stop that real quick. The current domestic or worldwide gross here is 148 million, almost 149 million, which was not projected for this film at all. 83 million domestic, 65 million international, and none of these numbers were projected. They thought it would make for what they spent on it. They thought it would be like a 50 to 55 million dollar movie, and that would be maybe 60. But it's turned in 148 million worldwide. So again, an indicator that it is much better than you might think simply by watching the previews. Okay, on to topic 3. Viva La Dirt League. Now, Viva La Dirt League, this may take a few minutes because a lot of people are going to be familiar with Viva La Dirt League, and they know what it is, right? And it's a satirical channel. They make highly creative comment. 4.67 million subscribers, and they do they do MMO games, fantasy MMO games. Pugbeat, they started a new series on Dungeons and Dragons, right? And sort of satirizing or making fun of aspects of MMO games, tropes in MMO games. They also have, this was a good one actually, when an NPC finally goes, loses it and goes psycho himself. And they also have a Western series, and God, what was the name of that game? It's based on Red Dead, right? Red Dead Redemption, So they have a lot of different aspects of what they do. Another one is they have the store and a restaurant version. That's when I'll come back to that, okay? Now this is probably, and I'm going to turn the sound off again, and I'll let this run for a couple of minutes while I just sort of set this up. Because in my opinion, when it comes to Viva La Dirt League, this little movie here, which I think was, how long was this? 20, let's see. Okay. It was about 32 minutes, the actual film, about 32 minutes of the movie. And it was brilliant. This was very well done. I consider this movie, Balin's Route, this little mini film, Balin's Route, as probably the epitome of all the work that Viva La Dirt League put out and created. The content that they created. This was perhaps, in my opinion, this was the best. This was sort of the crown jewel of everything that was on their page, right? And a lot of money went into this, okay? A lot of money went into this. It has very high production values. The story was well written. Again, it's well worth the time that you would want to sit down at your computer and watch this. And it's predominantly well acted, and they, you know, it's just very well done all around, right? Very well done all around. And a lot of the work prior to this, Viva La Dirt League, when they were first starting out, you know, they made classic little shorts about being a girl in MMO games and our female characters in MMO games, NPCs, how NPCs act and all this stuff. So that by the time this film came out, the vast majority of people, it's kind of like watching an MCU movie from phase 3. That by the time this film came out, the vast majority of people who would see this knew all the background. They knew who these guys were from all the other videos. So they didn't have to be explained again, like Vajra here, right? The blacksmith, Balin, the great day for fishing, ain't it? Right? That's all he ever says. And God, what is his character name? I can't remember, but Greg, that's right, Greg the garlic farmer. You know, everybody knows all the best. So they didn't go into the background of these guys. They just set off to tell the story. And it was very well done. Now, what I'm about to talk about is a little disgusting. What I'm about to talk about is I find to be sad and disappointing. However, in watching their films over time, I was not surprised. I'll put it that way. I was not surprised to see what I'm going to show next, but I was a little disappointed that it actually happened. Okay, now this, Balin's Route, this came out a year ago. Let's see. As I said, this was sort of the epitome of their content. Look at this, man. I mean, you know, there's a lot of high production value in this, a lot of time and money spent to get this right. And it's just incredible. Okay, so that was a year ago. This is also Viva La Dirt League, and I may run some of the sound here, but I want to point out that this aspect of it, to me, this is troubling. It is, you know, it's crass. It is disgusting. It is disappointing. And it isn't funny. Okay. That, you know, it isn't funny. That's, I suppose, the most damning comment that I can make. And I will explain that in a little bit. So these two are at a restaurant on a date. They're talking about how great the ambiance is, how much they've heard about how great the restaurant is. She gets her food and he gets his salad, and the waiter, you know, turns it, and then they're all talking about, oh man, I'm so hungry, this is going to be great. And then he looks at his salad, and lo and behold, okay, lo and behold, there's an actual feces log on his salad. Okay. Now, when you have a channel, a content channel, which I have, even though I don't have a lot of viewers, On my YouTube page, I'm closing in on 900 followers. On my Twitch page, I'm over 700 or 900 subscribers, right, on my YouTube page. I'm over 700 followers on my Twitch page. I'm kind of, I'm kind of small time. I never had any visions of grandeur when I set out to do this stuff. I never had any visions of having millions of followers. That just wasn't my goal. But the standards are the same. The standards are the same. When I put something up, there are certain lines and boundaries that I work within. Okay? And I want to show you what I mean here. Alright, so this is a video I put out, and I need to find, okay, I put this video out a few weeks back, and it's just a short video on 1v1 fights that I got into on my Swordmaster and my White Lion, taken live from my Twitch stream. Okay, so you look at the little video insert here, which actually plays. This actually plays while I'm, I have different ones of these, but it actually plays while I'm running my Twitch. And the particular video that's running right now, as this fight was recorded, was of women dancing, which I put in every now and then. And when anybody asks me about it, and some people have asked me, why do you put video of women dancing to the music that you play on Twitch? And my answer to that is always the same, because I like girls. Okay, it's no more complicated than that. But the thing to remember as you watch this is these are women dancing. That's all they're doing, is they're dancing. They may have shorts on and a halter top, but that's all they're doing, is dancing, right? They're not doing anything else. They're just dancing to the music. That's it. So that's the line that would never be crossed. I'm never going to put video of women doing anything else on my Twitch page beyond what you see right here. This is the limit, okay? This is the limit of what I would do in any of my YouTube videos or any of my Twitch streams. This is the limit right here that you see. This is as far as I will ever go when it comes to any sort of content that I put out. The same is true, let me see if I can find here, okay. The same is true with the imagery, right? This is fantasy imagery, random account, and I just use the imagery to make a point, the commentary to the left. But again, it's fantasy art of a woman using some sort of magic, and she's wearing leather outfit, okay. If anybody finds this offensive, I'm sorry, but it's just fantasy imagery, right? It's just an image. And when it comes to the imagery that I use in my videos, this is as far as I will go. This type of stuff is as far as I will go. I'm not going to go beyond that. So as a content creator, I operate under the same guidelines that would affect somebody as huge, as large as Viva La Dirt League. And they've, in one year, they've gone from creating content such as Balin's Route, a 32.5-minute movie featuring all their characters that have come to be known and sort of revered and loved over time. And they put out this really effective, this truly effective film highlighting one of the principal characters that, for the most part, was nothing more than comic relief, right? This guy always walking along with a fishing pole saying, great day for fishing, ain't it? Or morning, that's right, morning. He was like, morning, great day for fishing, ain't it? Okay, that was his whole role. But here they make a whole fracking movie based on this guy. And that's the whole line. And that's another reason why this is so brilliant, is because just like in all the other videos they put out, Balin here, the fisherman, never says anything other than morning, great day for fishing, ain't it? And his little ha-ha laugh. But they use tone and inflection, and the speech pattern changes so that he actually can convey meaning by saying the same words, the exact same words, simply in different fashion. And that's why I say this is sort of the epitome of what they have been able to create. And after this, you have to ask, after something like this, like the movie Balin's Route, you kind of have to ask, okay, where do we go from here? Well, they did introduce their D&D series, and the D&D series, I think, is not as good as the original fantasy series were, and always have been. But they go from something like this. Now, let me show you. Wait, here's an example of what I mean. Listen to this.
Okay. What the hell?
Nice day for fishing, ain't it?
Huh.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's...
Nice day for fishing, ain't it? It's the way he says it. The exact same words that he's always used, but the way he says it conveys a whole new meaning. Listen again.
What the hell?
Nice day for fishing, ain't it?
Okay. Is there any doubt about what he's saying and the look on his face, what he's actually saying? So, again, this is sort of the epitome of Viva La Dirt League. This was the best they ever did, in my opinion. And in 1 year, they go from this to this. A scene at a restaurant where a guy is served a meal with a big giant turd on it. Alright, now this is known of as bathroom humor, toilet humor, whatever, but the point I'm going to make about it is it isn't fucking funny. It isn't funny, okay? It isn't funny. It is the cheapest kind of humor there is. It is the lowest common denominator. It appeals to the lowest common denominator. It's 8th grade playground locker room stuff. I'll come back to this in a moment. Actually, what I'll do is, while I'm making this point, I'll go back here and just sort of let this run, just to have something running. But I've talked on my stream on a few occasions about when Tracy and I first met, and she was in nursing school and I was in graduate school. I had the luck, the fortune, having come out of the Army, and I had the fortune to have a job that was flexible. We were a promotional agency. I worked for a promotional agency which dealt with a lot of radio stations, entertainers, even big name entertainers who would come into the area, DJs, all that kind of stuff in the entertainment industry. We were sort of the local tri-state area, or Tidewater, I should say, Tidewater area, a sort of dumping ground for all of that. What's the term I'm looking for? We were the brokers, I suppose. And I had a job with them. And part of that job, we worked with the local radio stations, Z104, AM 780, or AM 750, I'm sorry, and FM 98.9, and which was, at that time, it was a talk. FM 98.9 wasn't quite all NPR. It was a talk station. And so FM 98.9 put on, at one time, they put on this show, the talk show, between two guys out of California. And they were, I guess, what would fit the classic definition of shock jocks. That was their bit. Everything to them was something to be made fun of. Everything to these two guys was something to be ridiculed. And the type of humor that they used to do it was the type of humor that you see in this restaurant clip, right? The type of humor that these two DJs used was this level of humor. And so they were on the air in Tidewater, which is Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Suffolk, Newport News, that whole area, right? They were on the air for about 2 months, and the people in the area said, screw these guys, we're not going to listen. And the ratings just dropped right off the table. And so in the third month of what was supposed to be a 1-year contract with these guys, in the third month, they were taken off the air. And I remember listening to their last show. Those two were pissed. And I called them up, and they were listed. Somebody from that area, call us up. We want to know what's going on. And I called them up, and I said, I can tell you why you're being taken off the air. You guys aren't funny. Okay? Tidewater is an area that has a lot of military in it, a lot of professionals, a lot of high-class professional people live in that area. And there are certain expectations. And 8th grade locker room toilet humor every day on the radio isn't one of them. That's why you guys are being taken off. You're not funny. Nobody wants to listen to you. You guys are just mean. Okay? That's what I told them. You guys are just mean. And they gave me a bunch of shit, not whatever, but that was the truth. Because the humor is gross. Okay, having or indicating such grossness of mind as precludes delicacy and discrimination. Now you have to understand the use of the term discrimination in this context. There was a time dating back to English polite society where if you said someone was a discriminating individual, a discriminating gentleman, or he had discriminating taste, those were all compliments. All it meant was that that person was educated enough to know the difference between what was good, what was bad, what had class, what didn't, what was worthy, and what wasn't. In those times, the term discrimination had nothing to do with the social issues that we face today. It was simply a term that meant it implied sophistication, right? To be discriminating in that context implied sophistication, right? It implied sophistication on the part of an individual. So that's what it's meant here. That having or indicating such grossness of mind as precludes delicacy and discrimination. Okay. Well, that's exactly what happened. Beneath one's dignity. That's what I have to question about the guys at Viva La Dirt League. How can they go in 1 year from something like this, Balin's route, which was just so incredibly well done? How can they go in 1 year from this to this? And the answer is, they're just out of ideas. There's more than one answer, okay? There's more than one answer, but one of the answers is they're just out of ideas. So now they're falling back to the lowest form of humor that there is, because some people are going to find it funny. You know, to part of their crowd is going to work, but it's a shame. You know, it's a shame that mainly, you know, apparently the guys at Viva La Dirt League have hit some sort of high water mark and become lazy. And when they became lazy, they became far more crude. Now, there's something else going on here as well. There's another aspect of this going on as well, which I may get to in a minute. But first, a few things about humor. This is an article on Everyday. Let me go back to the top here. This guy's, when the lines between offensive comedy and off-limits jokes are blurred. Okay, that's what's happened here. They crossed the line, in my opinion. I can't find where I was. Where is Amy Schumer? I got to go down a little bit here. Not that Amy Schumer's funny, because I can't find it now. But Amy Schumer is in that category as well. She is far more crass than she is. There it is. Than she is funny, and that's sort of, that's intentional. That's her stick. But anyway, okay. Within a small group, joking about people outside that group actually has a very bonding effect. It brings people together. Now that's true. It simply means that when everybody in a room laughs at a joke, and everybody in the room finds the joke funny, there is a bonding aspect of that. But this guy says that's an example of humor being used for a bad purpose. The point being made is the subject of the joke. What is the actual subject of the joke? To determine whether or not the joke is good or bad. All right, well, in this case, the subject of the joke is the fact that somebody took a dump on this guy's salad. Is that funny? Are we bonding over that? Does that make you feel better? Is that really, is that really the path you want to go down when you want to be entertained? Not in my opinion. And I think it's just, it lacks all dignity. It does. It lacks all dignity. This was another article I found on the philosophy of humor, but I've decided, this goes into stuff about Descartes and Thomas Hobbes, Rene Descartes. This is real philosophical ground. And, but one line it does say is, derision or scorn is a sort of joy mingled with hatred. Okay? Now that is a very telling line. I think I'll limit myself to this. Derision or scorn is a sort of joy mingled with hatred. What that means is that when you make a joke about someone else, one-legged chicken is raiding with a party at 12. Oh man, one-legged chicken, thanks. You guys caught me in the middle of my podcast. I'll be doing Warhammer in a little bit. But right now I'm talking about Viva La Dirt League. So if you stick around, I appreciate it. I appreciate the raid. Thank you. Okay. Here's, I'm going to reveal my one hidden agenda here. Because in the philosophy of humor, Descartes makes the statement that derision or scorn is a sort of joy mingled with hatred. That means if you make a joke about someone that demeans that person, right? That casts a dispersion upon that person, that questions that person's worth. And you can go back and tie this to what I was talking about here with the cast from the Avengers and Jimmy Kimmel here, who's, in my opinion, Jimmy Kimmel is one of these guys. He's not funny. He's not. He's just, his show is hard to watch. And I don't. I've long stopped watching it. Even though I watched it this night because, here's Scarlett Johansson, right? He does have Scarlett Johansson on here, so it can't be all bad. But he's got the Avengers, the cast of the Avengers on his show. And what does he want to do? Instead of talking about the movies, instead of talking about what they've accomplished with the MCU, instead of talking about the overall arc that they've all been in, to make these movies, to put out an effective product, he casts dispersions. He ridicules them, right? He puts up this art, this fan art, which depicts them as something other than what they actually are. And I don't find this funny. My point stands. If people want to draw this stuff, if people want to have these fantasies, fine. But don't shove it on the rest of us, okay? So that sort of ties in with what is being talked about here. The joy that comes with this is on the part of the person who's making the joke. But the joy that they get is mingled with hatred, because hatred is the motivation. Lately, I've had a problem on my YouTube page. And I was very vocal about it not that long ago. That every time I posted a video on my YouTube page, I had people going in, and just clicking on my videos, right? Like the first 10, 12, 15 videos, whatever, and they would click on all of them and put a dislike up. They would click on a video only long enough to put a dislike up and then move on. Okay, that is derision or scorn with joy on their part mingled with the fact that for whatever reason they hate me. And when I figured that out, when I finally put that into perspective, that people were going to my YouTube page and putting dislikes on all my videos, that they were the same people who would go out and key your car or call your girlfriend a whore or whatever, just to do something to make you mad and try to make you mad. In other words, they're those people that are stuck in the 8th grade locker room. When it finally clicked in my head that that's who I was dealing with, I got over it. And as you can see, I've made another video and I've moved on. And I'll keep making videos because I'm not going to give up. But it's all the same, okay? The people who would put this out as a product, as a content creation, the people who would put this out are no different than the people who would do this, are the people who would go to someone's creative format, their YouTube page, and fuck with it just because joy mingled with hatred. It gives them joy. It gives the person doing it joy to cast aspersions on someone else, but the only joy they have is because they hate something. That's the other thing going on here. When you talk about Viva La Dirt League, that is the other aspect of why a video like this would be made, okay? Why would they make a video about a guy being served dinner at a fancy restaurant with a giant turd on the plate? Why would they do this, okay? After putting out something like this, Balin's Route, something that, you know, is worthy, something that was worthy, that's worth watching, that tells a good story, that's very well crafted, you know, after rising to the heights that this movie, this little mini movie represents, you know, rising to the sheer heights of what this little mini movie represents, and then the same guys put this out about a guy being served, you know, and here the waiter comes back and it's the exact same salad, and all he did was just remove the turd, as if, okay, this isn't funny. It's not funny on any level. And it saddens me to see these people have fallen down to this. That this is the level of what they now consider to be humor, right? That this is what they now consider to be humor. And then we go back, there's another scene where he goes back and says, I forced myself to watch this. The waiter goes back, there's the chef. The chef is all crunched down. The guy says, well, he wants a whole new salad. The guy gets upset. Oh, I got to make a whole new salad. And he gives him a plate of food for table 9 that's got another big giant turd on it. This I almost said this shit isn't funny. No pun intended. But it isn't. It isn't funny. It isn't funny. And it's sad to see how the mighty have fallen now. That they have sunk to this level, right? A level of grossness of mind which precludes delicacy and discrimination. And they've also fallen to the trap of derision or scorn as a sort of joy mingled with hate. The reason they would make something like this is so that they can also comment about certain percentage of the viewers of their very own material. They're not just mocking, they're not just using 8th grade humor here to sort of get their point across, you know, to the people who would, to whatever proportion of their viewing audience that would find this funny. They're making fun of, they're poking direct fun at another aspect of their viewership, another segment of their viewership, and they're doing it quite intentionally. And it's just sad to see that happen. So for those of you who have watched my stream with any regularity at all, and again, no pun intended, but get it, regularity, all right, whatever. But anyway, these are some rules that I try to implement when I make jokes, when I engage in humor on my stream. Don't confuse being a leader with being a comedian. Leadership is just number one. An attempt at bad humor is not an acceptable excuse for unacceptable behavior, okay? That's an attempt at bad humor is not an acceptable excuse for unacceptable behavior. In other words, I'm not going to make a racist or sexist remark on my Twitch stream. One, because I'm just not that way. That's not my thing, okay? That is not my thing. To go down that road, I just don't do it. But if I were to slip up and say something that somebody found offensive, depending on what it was, because I said something one night that Yamcha took offense to, and it was the joke about, okay, here's the joke, right? I made a joke one night that, and here's the exact joke. I said, a girlfriend of mine once told me that I needed to get in touch, to get more in touch with my feminine side. So I went out and wrecked the car. Okay. There were a couple of people who didn't like that joke. They said it was sexist. Now, in that case, my response was, give me a break, man. You know, it's just a joke. It's not targeted against an individual. It's not even targeted against, you know, a group. It's just a joke. about a trope about women. It's not a joke about women, it's a joke about a trope about women. If you understand what a trope is, then you know it's a trope to say that women are all bad drivers and women go out and wreck cars. Okay, that's sort of a trope because it certainly isn't true, but it's something that's often said. So I made a joke about that. Anyway, but I thought the joke was perfectly fine in that particular case. Alright, so use humor to lift people up, not put them down. Don't laugh at people. There's a lot of that goes on here on the server, and that's what's going on here. Okay? The guys at Viva La Dirt League are also laughing at people instead of trying to make people laugh. Alright. Gags and practical jokes, this is important, should only be used when those on the receiving end find them funny. Who the hell finds this funny? I'm sure there are some people. Okay, I'm going to stop there. And because I do have one more topic I want to go into. But I just, again, let me close on this whole Viva La Dirt League thing by saying, I don't think, you know, in the long run, I'm sure they won't suffer. And I'm not trying to say that they will. I'm not saying they're going to suffer some huge loss of viewership over the fact that, you know, they've done a video. And this isn't the only one. Let me come out of this again. I'm sorry. This isn't the only one they've done all along these lines. They've done others along these same lines. And I just find it sad, right? I just find it sad that they felt like they had to go down this road because there's really nothing positive to be gained from this in the long run. Now, they're not going to lose their channel. I'm not saying that. They're not, you know, if they crumble and burn, it will be because of something else. But I will just leave it at that. Okay. So I'm going to move on to the NFL. And if there's anybody watching who wants to bet